So there have been some interesting updates on The Mandalorian Season 4 that's being reported by Bespin Bulletin and Making Star Wars. And again, these are rumours at the moment, so I will say take them with a pinch of salt. Anything could change, or the sources might not be trustworthy, but typically Bespin Bulletin, Making Star Wars, they have a fairly decent track record with their sources. Yeah, they don't get everything right, but most of the time they're fairly spot on, or they're in and around that area of truth. Now, this again relates to Season 4 of The Mandalorian, and we've been asking the question over the last few weeks and months, will it be a movie, will it be a show? And there's been all kinds of rumours and reports that seem to contradict one another, indicating it is going to be both a show and a movie. Now, a few days ago, we saw the announcement that The Mandalorian and Grogu is going to be going into development as a feature film later in this year. So that seemingly put to bed a lot of the rumours and questions about, well, what's going to happen next? Because that is going to be the next feature film for Star Wars, probably releasing sometime next year, or maybe 2025 or 2026. I'm forgetting what year we're in now. Depending on how quickly they can get it filmed and put into post-production. But if they can get it filmed this year, typically you're looking at a Christmas release the next year. So that might be what's going to happen here. Now, the report states, firstly, the fourth season of The Mandalorian was already written by the time of release of Mandalorian Season 3, and the fourth season was due to begin filming at the tail end of September, but was indefinitely delayed due to the writers and SAG-AFTRA strikes. And they'd heard that in November, the fourth season was gearing up for a February start. So this, again, makes a lot of sense from a logical point of view. If they'd had the script written, they were ready to go, and then the strikes came in and interrupted everything, that might have given them reason to pause and say, right, can we do something different? What do we want to do next? And if the script is already written, it wouldn't take too much work to adapt the last two episodes into a finale, which again is one of the things being reported here. So we can see here that later on, a report from Making Star Wars says that one of their sources had heard the fourth season of The Mandalorian would not consist of 8 episodes, which is a departure of the episode count of previous seasons, and instead that the season would consist of 6 episodes. The reason for this is because The Mandalorian and Grogu would replace episodes 7 and 8, the final 2 episodes of the season, and it simply morphed into a feature film. So again, it's very possible. It certainly doesn't seem too difficult to adapt an already written season into a feature film. Whether this is a good idea or not, I would say that I'm verging on the opinion of it not being the best idea. Because, again, a feature film, I feel like, should appeal to all audiences, whether you've seen The Mandalorian, the show, or not. There shouldn't be a requirement for you to have seen any of the previous episodes in that particular season to go in and see a movie. So there's a risk here that casual audiences might be a bit alienated by it. They might not necessarily fully get it. But I'm hoping, I think in Disney's mind certainly, or Lucasfilm's mind, they're sat there thinking, well, this might encourage more people to watch the show. There's already a large audience for the show, so that will carry over and be enough to make the movie successful. But it is definitely a risk. I'm also not certain about, again, taking 2 episodes and stretching them out into a movie. I always just like the idea that if you're going to spend that extra money on, that story, give us 12 episodes. I love longer series. I love filler content because it gives you a sense of world. It gives you the ability to develop characters deeper. In a film, it's got to be 2.5 hours at most. So that's, again, pretty much the same length of time as those last 2 episodes. Doesn't really give you anything extra other than that financial incentive, to get people to pay, separately to go and watch the finale of the season. So I'm not 100% certain that it's the best thing in my mind, but again, I'm not an expert. I don't work in the film industry. I'm not a producer. I'm not a, writer. So it could well be that this works out really well for them. Which I hope it does. I think that's the thing I want to underline here, is that I hope whatever does happen, it's successful and it's good, because I want to enjoy it. But one other thing that this makes me feel is that we are coming towards the tail end of The Mandalorian. Certainly, I don't see a reason to take the finale of the fourth season and adapt it into a film if you're not planning on it being massive in scale. And usually that means that's the end, because you can't upstage it, you can't outdo it. Season 5 would feel inferior in comparison. And so this does lend me on the idea that they are planning to wrap up the story of the Mandalorian and Grogu in this form. Fourth season is going to be the final season, and to be honest, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Too often I watch shows go well beyond their peak, continue to, sort of draw out stories that just don't feel like they've captured the magic of earlier seasons, and it's all because of financial incentive. It's because the shows are still popular, but they very quickly drop off in both quality and audience. So knowing when to end, like Breaking Bad ended on its peak. That's a perfect example of when to end a show. And I think that they would be smart to look at Season 4 or Season 5 as being the end for The Mandalorian. It's not going to be the end of the characters, because we know we've got the Mando Universe film that's being headed up by Dave Filoni. That's set to come out in a couple of years' time. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the end of the characters. But I think in terms of ending the story that we've been given, and by all means they might spin it off into a sequel at some point, and they can pick up on different adventures, they can involve Mando in other series down the line, but I think this would be a good way to end. And the only way that you could really justify it being adapted into a movie is if it was going to be the kind of final goodbye for the show. So, yes, I'd be interested in knowing your opinions. What do you feel about this news? Would you be happy with the finale being a film, or would you prefer them to be two separate entities? And if they are going to be, one thing combined, do you think that should then be the finale for the Mando? Let me know your thoughts. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Please do subscribe if you haven't. Hit the like button, leave me a comment, and I will see you for the next video.